Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to watch another traveling Israel video. It is disgusting, no surprise there, but in it he gives us his seven good reasons why Palestine should not be liberated. And we're going to go one by one and debunk each one of them.
Reason number one, we will get to politics and history soon, but let's start with what matters, women's rights. When you look at the world, do you think the world needs one more country where men are allowed to beat their wives? In the Palestinian Authority, men are allowed to beat their wives. A few months ago, I made a video where I showed clips from Palestinian TV in which officials say it is allowed to hit your wife. Of course, there are limits, not too hard and not on the face, so you don't mess up her looks. Sick, right? Where are all the women who support Free Palestine? Where are all the feminists? A few months before the war, Hamas passed a law that says a woman cannot leave the house without permission from the men in her family, her husband, her father, her brother. I believe you can learn a great deal about our society by observing how it treats women, but maybe that's just me. The official position of Ireland is that the world needs another country where women are men's property. The Guinness must have gone to their heads.
Okay, so first of all, my question to traveling Israel is, what's your solution? Because all of those things exist under Israeli occupation. What has the Israeli occupation done to improve the lives of women? Nothing. Secondly, it's not explicitly legal to beat your wife in Palestine. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen at an alarmingly high rate, no doubt. But it's not explicitly legal. Not only that, but domestic abuse is common in the West as well. Now, it's not as high, but it's still way too high. And marital rape in the United States was legal up until the 1970s. So does that mean the United States should have been occupied by a more powerful government or something? Doesn't really make sense. Also, even though I don't have the data for this, it's probably the case that domestic abuse was much higher when the US was founded. So the US shouldn't have become a country, the country that is Israel's biggest benefactor. And domestic violence also exists in Jewish cultures. So are we saying Israel doesn't have a right to exist because men also abuse their partners there? Like, what is the right percentage for traveling Israel to where you're allowed to have a state? And if Palestinians were given full legal rights under the state of Israel, which is a supposed democracy, these anti-domestic abuse laws would also apply to them and perhaps over time reduce the rate of domestic abuse amongst Palestinians.
Reason number two, and it is the same style, so I will make it short. LGBTQ rights. Out of the 20 worst countries to be gay in the world, 17 are Muslim. Why do you want there to be 18 Muslim countries on that list? I don't understand why countries in Western Europe support the creation of yet another country that puts gays in prison, if you're lucky.
Yeah, again, this is similar to the last point. If you give Palestinians full legal rights under the state of Israel, then those pro LGBTQ laws will also apply to them. Also, gay marriage isn't even legal in Israel, so it's not as LGBTQ friendly as he's making it out to be.
Free Palestine. We will talk about Palestine in a second, but let's start with the free. What is free in the Arab Muslim world? Where do you see freedom in the Arab Muslim world? Democracy, human rights, where does that exist? In Yemen, Afghanistan, Egypt, Libya, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Syria?
Well, in Iran, they used to have democracy. They used to have democracy, and then it was overturned by the United States in 1953. Look that up.
Palestine is Western wishful thinking. It's a fantasy dreamed up by people who don't know the Muslim world.
Again, if you propose a two-state solution, perhaps his hypothetical works here. But if Palestinians were integrated into a democratic state that already exists, the state of Israel, then it would still be a democracy. It would be an actual democracy.
Or And this one will really surprise you. The Palestinian people are actually a colonial project. You are probably asking, how can that be? Let's
Yeah.
start with the name. The name Palestine is not Arabic. It was given to the region by the Roman Empire, which conquered Judea. The Romans
See, this is a common talking point. Oh, the Romans gave that area the name Syria Palestine to punish the Jews. Now, they may have done it for that reason, and they did name it Syria Palestinia, but that area was referred to as variations of the word Palestine long before that. Okay, so the word Palestine derives from ancient Greek, or Philistia, but ancient Egyptian, Assyrian, and Hebrew languages also included similar sounding words to describe the region or its people, and this was long before the Roman Empire conquered this area.
European countries that came out of Roman culture kept calling the area Palestine. So on European maps, you can see the name Palestine, but the local Arabs didn't use it. Before the British came to the region after World War I, the Ottomans, who were Muslims, had ruled the land for 400 years. They didn't use the name either. They used Vilayet of Damascus and Vilayet of Beirut. So even the Arabs who lived here didn't call themselves Palestinians. The name Palestine was primarily used in Europe. And it is not just the name that has its roots in a colonial project. It is also the borders of the area. Why is an Arab born in Acre called Palestinian, while an Arab born in Beirut is Lebanese? I will tell you. Because the British and the French drew a line on the map between them. In this way, the Palestinians
That's true. Good for you.
adopted the colonial name given to the area by the Roman Empire and the colonial borders given by the British Empire.
So he's complaining about colonialism, but the state of Israel is also a colonialist project.
You can say, even if the Palestinians didn't exist as a people, and even if they want to build a country where women are property and gay are thrown in jail, that's their right. You can say that you are willing to throw away all your values just so the Palestinians can have a country. But here is something that might surprise you.
Okay, so his argument is that Palestine is largely a European word, so therefore you have to remain under Israeli occupation. Makes sense, I guess. Also, lots of countries were not called what they are today. Okay, Iraq, Iran, right? Most of the Middle East was drawn by the British Empire. And they weren't called Iraqis or Iranians. In Iran, they were called Persians. So Iran does not have a right to exist, according to him, because their name changed over time, because that's just what language does. And also that's a consequence of the colonialist powers of Europe. And also, Jews weren't called Israelis until the state of Israel existed. Nobody was called Israeli. So again, like these are really brain dead talking points.
Reason number 5. The Palestinians don't want a state. Sounds strange? First of all, they said no to every offer of a state. In 1937, in 1947, from 1949 to 1967, they had 19 full years to build a country when they were under Jordanian and Egyptian rule.
This is a really dumb talking point. Oh, Palestinians have always rejected peace offers. That's just not true. And also, Israel has repeatedly rejected peace offers from Hamas and the Palestinians. So again, another brain dead talking point.
And in the Hamas charter, the phrase Palestinian state doesn't appear. Interesting, right? The word Islam appears 130 times.
It's interesting how he doesn't address the revision made in 2017.
So do words death and kill in Article 7 and 8. The day of judgment would not come until the Muslims fight and kill the Jews. The Quran's its constitution, jihad its path, and death for the sake of Allah is the loftiest of its wishes. That's not a slip of the tongue. That's the foundation. Listen to the other side. Listen to them. The day of judgment would not come until the Muslims kill all the Jews. And death for the sake of Allah is the loftiest of its wishes.
Okay, so that was in 1988. Now, I disagree with genocidal rhetoric. Now, I know that's a brave thing to say, but it's true. Now, I want to read you my own quote, okay? And this is from David Ben-Gurion, the founder and first prime minister of Israel. Not just some obscure figure. This is the main guy, okay? And in 1937, he wrote a letter to his son where he said, "We must expel the Arabs and take their place." Not only that, but he also said that we need to wipe them out. Okay, this is genocidal rhetoric, okay? And this is long before Hamas even existed. Hamas was founded in 1987, after the Nakba, after the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians. Okay, Hamas does not exist in a vacuum. It exists in a context, right, where, 750,000 Palestinians were driven from their land and their villages were destroyed. And if he's being consistent, because the founder of Israel espoused genocidal rhetoric and intent and actually carried it out, the state of Israel does not have a right to exist. Why should we have given Israel a state if the founder is saying stuff like that?
And that brings us to the sixth reason why Free Palestine is a bad idea. Free Palestine is code. Actually, it is not even code anymore. It's pretty open. It means the destruction of Israel. I know some people are deeply bothered by the very existence of the state of Israel. And that will be
because it's an ethno-nationalist state. Yeah, those are not good.
the final reason we will get to in just a minute. But in a world with dozens of countries that have crosses on their flags and 50 giant Muslim countries, there is room for one tiny Jewish state. By the way, it is interesting to measure Israel's contribution to humanity, to the world, in irrigation systems, water desalination, agriculture, technology. Apparently, in some circles today, playing the victim is valued more than actually contributing to society. Like victimhood is the new virtue. But
it's hard to contribute to global society and create all this new technology and all these cool things when you're under siege for decades. When the amount of food and water and electricity is controlled by an external occupying force. When the borders and the air and the sea is controlled by Israel. Of course, they're not going to be able to finance high-tech, cool gadgetry or whatever. Not only that, but the state of Israel is funded by the U.S. to the tune of billions of dollars a year. Of course, they have the extra capacity to create these things when they're funded by the world hegemonic power, of course. And also, that doesn't give a state a right to occupy another people and commit a genocide and starve out a people. So that's his argument. It's like, oh, we created a new irrigation system so we get to occupy people for decades and commit a genocide.
In terms of contribution to the world, in every field, how can I phrase this gently without offending those who are easily upset by reality? Israel has contributed a little bit more to the world than all the countries around it. There is room in
because of the US. But okay, whatever.
The world for one tiny Jewish state. And if Palestine is freed from Jews, it won't make the world a better place.
So he's saying that Arabs are inferior because if all the Jews were gone, they would all just be cavemen, morons, I guess.
The final reason has less to do with Israel or Palestine or history and more to do with you.
With propaganda.
You're not really pro-Palestinian. You're just anti-Israel. And yes,
I can be both.
that sits on deep, repressed anti-Semitism. Or maybe not so deep, not so repressed. I know you don't think of yourself as anti-Semitic. Of course not. So let me ask you this. What is it about the Palestinians that gets you marching in the streets? What makes you obsessed with this issue? Even in countries far away like Australia and Canada, there have been massive protests against Israel.
Countries far away can't care about people being genocided far away, I guess.
Supposedly in support of Palestinians. Jewish businesses and institutions are attacked. Jews are afraid to wear identifying symbols on the street, afraid to speak Hebrew.
That's horrible, by the way. I hate that that's happening.
Same thing in Western Europe. Why? As far as I can tell,
Why? I mean, part of it is because certain people insist that Judaism be equated with Zionism. That's part of the reason. Probably the biggest part of the reason. Doesn't justify anti-Semitism, but I mean, at least we know a big reason as to why it's happening.
no one in Sydney is flooding the streets over China. You know, the massive dictatorship right next door. No outrage for the Muslims rotting in China labor and re-education camps.
I mean, I guess he has trouble Googling. Has this guy, I mean, this guy uses the internet, but I guess he doesn't know how to Google things. But yes, people do protest the Chinese repressing the Uyghur Muslims. Are you serious? Like, protests held in London and Manchester against China's treatment of Uyghur Muslims. But they're so far away. Why should they care, right?
Interesting how concern for Muslims appears only when it involves the Jewish state. And Yemen,
That's just not true.
who cares about the brutal civil war?
It's funny, he mentions Yemen and Syria a lot. But my theory is that you don't actually care about Yemen and Syria because you only bring it up in defense of Israel's actions. You never have a standalone video that talks about the Yemen or Syria civil war, so I don't think you actually care about it. In the same way you think that people who care about Palestine are just anti-Israeli and anti-Jewish. I can make the same argument against you. You don't care about Yemenis or Syrians. You don't care about Uyghur Muslims in China. When have you made a video just about that? Never. Never. According to him, nobody can be genuinely concerned with Palestinians being genocided and starved to death. It just blows my mind, honestly. It's insane. But there you have it, guys. 7 really stupid reasons to keep subjugating and genociding and starving the Palestinians in Gaza and continue the settler violence in the West Bank. But not surprising, coming from traveling Israel. But again, I'm going to give you some advice that I've given you before. You got to step up your propaganda. Try to be a little bit more convincing and a little less brain dead.